All right, so get this. We're diving deep into African fintech.
Okay.
Yeah, specifically Tyme, this digital bank that just got a massive $250 million in funding,
Wow.
which pushed their valuation to $1.5 billion.
Yeah.
And they're operating in South Africa and the Philippines.
Oh, okay.
And trust me, their story is way more interesting than like your average banking news.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
So what makes Tyme so special?
yeah, that's the question, isn't it? And why should anyone care? Especially if you're sitting on a completely different continent. What's happening with a digital bank in Africa?
Right.
Well, the answer kind of starts with understanding Tyme's unique model.
Okay.
It's like a hybrid model. They offer all the convenience of online banking.
Yeah.
But they also have these physical kiosks.
Oh, interesting.
Little mini branches, you could say.
Okay.
Strategically located in areas with limited access to traditional banks.
Okay, I see. So bridging the gap, reaching more people.
Yeah.
But is that really enough to justify like $1 billion valuation and $250 million in new funding?
It's definitely a piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
but the real eye-opener here is the investor leading this funding round.
Okay.
Nubank.
Nubank.
Yeah, they're pouring in a massive $150 million.
Wow.
Essentially saying, we believe in Tyme's potential. We're betting big on their future.
Okay, Nubank. Go. For anyone who's not, fluent in like fintech giants,
Sure.
remind us who they are
Yeah.
and why their involvement is such a big deal.
So Nubank is like the 800-pound gorilla of Latin American fintech.
Okay.
They've completely disrupted the traditional banking scene there.
Wow.
They have over 100 million customers.
Okay.
So them choosing to invest in Tyme is a major signal.
Right.
It's like the cool kids from one continent saying, hey, this up-and-comer on another continent, they're on to something special.
It's like a stamp of approval from the fintech elite.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got a unique model and a big-name investor.
Yeah.
But what are the actual results?
Sure.
Is Tyme walking the walk?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
They've already signed up a staggering 15 million customers.
Wow.
In just a few years.
That's a lot of customers.
Yeah, and to put that in perspective, 10 million of those are in South Africa alone.
Wow.
So that's huge for a relatively new company.
Yeah.
Especially in a market where traditional banks have been dominant for so long.
15 million. Okay, color me impressed.
Yeah.
But beyond the customer count, what about their actual impact?
Right.
Are they just another digital bank? Or are they doing something more meaningful?
This is where it gets really interesting.
Right.
Tyme isn't just about moving money around. They're actively focused on financial inclusion.
Okay.
A prime example.
Yeah.
They've provided over $600 million in financing to small businesses.
Seriously?
Yeah, we're talking about empowering entrepreneurs, fueling local economies, and driving real growth at the grassroots level.
Hold on, $600 million to small businesses.
That's a lot.
That's not just banking, that's economic development.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're seeing impressive growth, a unique approach, a genuine commitment to social impact. But here's the question that's nagging at me. Is Tyme simply filling a gap in the market?
Yeah.
Providing services where traditional banks have fallen short?
Sure.
Or are they doing something truly innovative, something that's pushing the boundaries of what digital banking can be?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And to answer it, we need to dig a bit deeper into the forces driving Tyme's success.
Okay.
And what it reveals about the future of digital banking on a global scale.
All right. I'm ready to dig.
Yeah.
Let's uncover what's fueling this meteoric rise and why it matters for the future of finance, not just in Africa, but potentially everywhere.
Let's do it. What's really fascinating is Tyme's success, it goes beyond just filling a void.
Okay.
They're attracting attention from like these giants like Nubank.
Right.
Who, let's not forget, have already kind of conquered the Latin American market.
Right. Nubank is a behemoth.
Yeah.
Over 100 million customers.
Huge.
So why would they invest in a company operating on a different continent? Potentially even a future competitor.
Right.
It seems counterintuitive.
It might seem that way at first glance.
Yeah.
But Nubank's core markets in Latin America, they're becoming increasingly saturated.
Okay.
They're facing stiff competition from like rivals like Neon and C6 Bank.
Oh, okay.
So expanding into new territories with like massive growth potential, like Africa.
Yeah.
It's a strategic move for them
to
diversify their portfolio and stay ahead of the curve.
Makes sense. So they see Africa and specifically Tyme as a way to tap into this new wave of fintech growth.
Exactly.
Are they making similar plays in other regions too?
Actually, yes.
Okay.
Nubank's investment in Tyme, it kind of echoes their earlier backing of Jupiter, which is an Indian neobank.
Okay, and remind me, what's a neobank again?
Oh, yeah. So neobanks are completely digital banks.
Yep.
No physical branches.
Got it.
They rely solely on technology to deliver their services.
Interesting. Okay, so this points to a pattern.
Yeah.
Nubank strategically placing these bets on promising fintech players in high-growth emerging markets.
Exactly.
Do you think this signals a broader trend?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility.
Well,
What's particularly interesting is that Tyme isn't just focusing on South Africa.
right.
They're also making waves in the Philippines
Right.
with their GoTyme brand,
Interesting.
which already boasts 5 million customers.
Wow. Okay.
This venture is a joint effort with the Gokongwei Group,
The Conway Group.
a major Filipino conglomerate.
So they're not just going solo.
Right.
They're strategically partnering with these local giants
Exactly.
who already have a strong understanding of the market dynamics,
Yeah.
consumer behavior.
That's smart.
That's smart.
Precisely.
So it seems like this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Tyme has plans to expand into Vietnam and Indonesia next year. 2 markets ripe for disruption with large underserved populations.
Huge potential.
This is starting to feel less like a regional phenomenon and more like a global shift.
Yeah.
Are we witnessing the rise of digital banking as the primary mode of accessing financial services, especially in regions where traditional banking has historically struggled?
You're hitting on a crucial point.
Okay.
Tyme's success story could be a blueprint for similar ventures in other underserved markets around the world. This isn't just about profits. It's about fostering financial inclusion, empowering individuals and communities with the tools they need to thrive.
It's exciting to see how companies like Tyme are driving this change.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about their ambitious goal, a potential IPO in New York by 2028.
Yes. The IPO.
Yeah.
It's a bold move, aiming to be one of the first African fintechs to list on a major U.S. exchange.
Right. But first, for our listener, can you explain what an IPO actually is and why it matters?
So an IPO, or initial public offering,
Right.
is essentially when a company decides to sell shares of itself to the public.
Okay.
It allows anyone to invest in the company and potentially share in its future success.
Yeah.
For Tyme, this would mean a massive influx of capital to fuel their growth plans and expand even further.
Exactly. And it's not just about the money.
Right.
Listing on a major U.S. exchange like the New York Stock Exchange would put Tyme on the global stage.
Yeah.
Attracting attention from investors worldwide.
Exactly.
And potentially paving the way for other African fintechs to follow suit.
That's right.
It would be a major milestone.
Huge.
Signaling the arrival of African fintech as a force to be reckoned with.
For sure.
But let's be realistic.
Okay.
An IPO is a complex and challenging process.
Yeah, it is.
What are the potential hurdles and opportunities Tyme will face on this journey?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
To answer it, we need to examine Tyme's financials. Okay.
The competitive landscape in their target markets and the overall global economic climate.
Okay, let's dive into those details and see what clues we can uncover about Tyme's path to a potential IPO. Okay, so let's get down to like brass tacks here. When you look at Tyme's financials,
Sure.
what stands out to you as we consider like their IPO aspirations?
Yeah, one of the most impressive things is they've already amassed over $400 million
Wow.
in customer deposits.
Okay.
That's huge.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a huge vote of confidence from their users.
Right.
Demonstrating trust in their platform,
Okay.
a willingness to park their money with them.
Okay, that's a solid foundation.
Yeah.
But deposits alone don't tell the whole story.
Right.
What about their lending activities?
Yeah.
How are they actually putting that capital to work and generating revenue?
Yeah.
That's crucial for any company aiming for an IPO.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And this is where that $600 million.
In financing to small businesses really comes into play.
Right.
It shows they're actively lending,
Yeah.
supporting local economies, and crucially generating revenue streams
Okay.
that will be attractive to potential investors.
So they're building this track record
Yeah.
of financial stability and responsible growth.
Exactly.
But they're not operating in a vacuum.
Right.
How does Tyme stack up against the competition
Okay.
in these already crowded fintech markets?
Competition is fierce, no doubt.
Yeah.
But Tyme has a few key advantages.
Okay.
Their hybrid model
Yeah.
with those physical service points
Right.
gives them a wider reach than purely digital banks.
Okay.
It allows them to serve customers
Right.
who might be hesitant to go fully online.
Yeah.
Especially in regions where digital literacy varies.
It's like they're bridging the gap
Exactly.
between traditional banking and the digital world,
Yeah.
catering to a broader spectrum of customers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And their focus on financial inclusion
Right.
is another major differentiator.
Yeah.
They're not just going after the already banked population. They're actively targeting those who've been underserved
Right.
or excluded by traditional financial institutions.
That's right.
That's not just smart business. It's socially responsible.
Yeah.
It aligns with this global trend of using technology to create a more equitable and inclusive world.
Precisely. And that social impact element can be a big draw for investors, especially those who are looking to support businesses that make a positive difference.
So we've got a strong financial base, a unique business model, a compelling social impact story.
Right.
It sounds like they're ticking a lot of boxes for a successful IPO.
Yeah, but there are always challenges.
Right.
What are the potential risks or hurdles they'll need to overcome?
Navigating the regulatory landscape is a major one.
Oh, yeah.
Every country has its own set of financial regulations.
Right.
And those can change rapidly.
For sure. Especially in the fast-evolving world of fintech. Tyme needs to stay agile and compliant.
Yeah.
Across all the markets they operate in.
That's a big one.
The ever-changing regulatory maze. What else should we be watching for?
Economic volatility is another key concern. Emerging markets can be particularly susceptible to economic downturns, which could impact Tyme's growth trajectory.
Okay, so regulatory hurdles, economic uncertainty, factors to consider.
Right.
But overall, it sounds like Tyme is in a pretty strong position.
I think so.
To pursue their IPO ambitions.
They've definitely got a lot going for them.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the success of their IPO will depend on a variety of factors, including market conditions, investor sentiment, and their ability to execute their growth strategy effectively.
It's like a high-stakes game with a lot of moving parts.
Absolutely.
But that's what makes it so fascinating to follow, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So what does this all mean for our listener?
Why should they care about what's happening with a digital bank thousands of miles away?
This story goes beyond just one company. It's about the power of technology to transform lives. The rise of emerging markets as hubs of innovation. And the potential for a more inclusive and accessible financial system for everyone, no matter where they live.
That's a powerful takeaway.
Yeah.
It reminds us that even seemingly distant events, like a fintech IPO in Africa, can have ripple effects that touch us all.
Exactly. And here's a final thought to leave you with.
Go.
With Tyme blazing a trail, will we see a wave of investment and innovation in financial services across emerging markets, empowering millions more people to access the tools they need to achieve their financial goals?
That's a great question to ponder. It's clear that Tyme's journey is just the beginning of a potentially transformative story. We'll be watching closely to see how it unfolds. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of African fintech.